Well, welcome to NK'Mip Cellars, the first Aboriginal-owned and operated winery in North America. We are here at the very south end of the reserve land. The Osoyoos Indian Band has about 32,000 acres of land spreading up from here, the very south end of Osoyoos, to up by Oliver, more or less. We've got a fair amount of grapes planted just right here, about 21 acres of Merlot, of Syrah, Cabernet Sauvignon, of Cabernet Franc. Just kind of the biggest, richest, boldest flavored reds. Really need this proper heat in order to kind of kick in. You know, this is exactly the spot to do the really kind of heavy duty, really kind of bold, really pressing. Most of our vines are planted up north, just to the side of Oliver, and that's where we do our cold weather whites. And that's where we do most of our other reds that don't need quite the same level of heat as these ones right here. Got about 300 acres planted up there. We only use about 50 of those, plus the 21 that are just right around here. We're about a medium production winery. Do about 18,000 cases a year, which is, it sounds like a lot, but you compare that to something like Jackson Triggs, they do about 130,000, so just a fraction of that. But we try to do a few different types of grapes and try to do them as well as possible. Don't necessarily have quite the variety, but we absolutely have the quality. Last year we were awarded, what was it? The 4th best winery in Canada. So out of all the wineries here in the Okanagan, of which there are hundreds upon hundreds, and all the wineries that were in the Niagara region, in Ontario as well, placing 4th amongst all them, quite the feather in the cap. We see sort of where the action happens in the fall when we do our harvest. We do all the picking by hand. We're a very new winery. 2002 is when we were founded, so less than a decade old. We had this building built specifically to the winemaker's specifications. So we're a very high-tech winery. We have a lot of very state-of-the-art machinery, very cutting edge, but at the same time, there's a lot of tradition that we like to bring into the winemaking process. Because we are smaller scale, we can afford to be a little more hands-on, and that sort of extra level of attention really improves the quality of the wine, makes sure that we get the best possible product at the other end. So one of the things that we do is we do all the picking by hand. No automated pickers, right? You don't want to bruise the grapes. You don't want to be too rough with them. So this whole area right here, in the fall, is usually cordoned off, and we have picking tables laid out all over, and we've got people sorting through all the grapes, right? Plucking out the bad grapes, plucking out any leaves, and then depending on whether they have green grapes or purple grapes, they go through a very different process. The green grapes are thrown into this butcher press right here, which is, again, a very fine piece of art, a state-of-the-art machine that allows us to really perfectly regulate how we press the grapes, keep the temperature down. And so the green grapes we'll throw into here, and it takes about 2 hours to squeeze out the juice from one batch. And so we do it, as I said before, very gently, very carefully. Don't want to bruise the grapes, don't want to harm the juice. So we very slowly have sort of an inflatable bladder, kind of press out there, a bit of a balloon, presses out the juice, trickles down into that basin there, and then we pipe that downstairs to our for 18 months. So definitely quite a bit of time, a lot of attention is paid to them, but that really makes for kind of the most spectacular flavors that we can really get. This is a traditional cottonwood canoe made by the local band in commemoration of our opening in 2002. Absolutely precise. It's exactly the specs that they would have traditionally used. Not the sort of massive war canoe that you see, say, from the coastal First Nations peoples, but they don't need quite the same scale of canoe. Our story wall tells a little bit about the history of the Osoyoos Indian Band and the winery and the vineyard. This right here is the insignia for NK'Mip Cellars. A couple of symbols in here. The arrowhead, of course, is fairly predictable, fairly blunt. That is to say, it represents power, strength, sort of a sense of authority, which we do feel like we are in the topic of wine. And then this right here in the center, the turtle, a little bit more of a cryptic symbol. The turtle for us represents ingenuity, wisdom, and insight, which are not necessarily the attributes that you would normally give to a turtle. But the reason for that is that there's a story amongst the local First Nations people here, and it tells of a time before the dawn of humans, when the world was just inhabited by the animal people. And at that time, the animal people all had a race, and the eagle won. The eagle, by far the most swift, the most speedy of all the animal people. And when the eagle won the race, he took the other animal people as slaves. He enslaved the rest of them, he captured them all. And one by one, the animals tried to race the eagle and tried to free the rest of the animal people. You know, the deer tried, the wolf tried, but they all failed. They all were too slow, and the eagle maintained dominance over all the animals. And then one day, the turtle came along. This is sort of a tortoise and hare story. The turtle comes along and challenges the eagle to a race and says, "Eagle, I bet I can beat you in a race." And the eagle laughs, and the eagle says, "Yes, yes, of course, all right, sure, I'll do a race, no problem." And the turtle says, "Okay, but my condition is this, it'll be my type of race, it'll be the race that I specify." And the eagle says, "I can beat you from anywhere to anywhere else, not a problem." So the turtle says, "Okay, I'll race you from the sky to the ground." So the eagle picks up the turtle, carries him up into the sky, lets him go, and of course the turtle drops like a bullet straight down to the ground. Way too slow, the eagle, coasting on the airwaves, and so the turtle hits the ground first, or rather the ocean, and wins freedom for all the animal people. And so that is why we use the turtle there as that symbol of ingenuity, that symbol of wisdom. As well, it's said that where the turtle landed, in the sea, he formed an island, and that is where the people of North America now live. North America itself is supposed to be the turtle's back, and so Turtle Island is what we call North America. And so, having that turtle on there also is a symbol of North America, and is a symbol of our, it's a symbol of our position in North America as the first Aboriginal owned and operated winery. Along here you can see a little bit of information about the founding of the winery. This right here is the chief of the band at the time, in the late 60s, Sam Baptise. This was him signing a deal with Vincor to begin the vineyard up north by Oliver. And you can see it was a pretty kind of rough around the edges, a pretty cowboy time, with lots of trial and lots of error. And it was very hard going, and we had a particularly bad freeze in the late 70s that absolutely ruined most of our vines, pulled them up, replanted them. However, since then, they've been going strong, and at the moment, our Riesling vines are some of the oldest in the valley, over 30 years old, and you get a very specific quality from a very old vine like that. Really can't be replicated in any other way. This picture was taken in the late 90s. Really kind of shows the sort of improvement that was made in the land, how well it's going along, and vast amounts have been done even since then. Down over here we have another picture of Sam Baptise. After retiring from being the chief of the Osoyoos Indian Band and ushering in the beginning of our vineyard, Sam retired and actually became the vineyard manager. So now he cultivates the vines, and he makes sure that they're of absolutely the best quality for our winery. And he looks a lot happier now too, doesn't he? And this, of course, is a little shot of Clarence Louis, who was so instrumental, so influential in the creation of our winery. Very shrewd businessman, really knows what he's doing, has absolutely